The Food Waste Solution Summit will be held in San Diego tomorrow. Local business leaders, food assistant groups, and environmental groups will address hunger and the environmental impact of food waste in our region. Joining me with the details are Kratzer with Feeding America San Diego and Elly Brown with the Food System Alliance, the group organizing the event. And Kelly, Feeding America San Diego works to feed the counties hungry. Give us a snapshot in who's in need of food here.
Yeah, absolutely. We have nearly 500,000 individuals in our county who struggle with hunger. That's 1 in 7 adults and 1 in 5 children who don't know where their next meal is coming from. So these are people all across the county. A lot of them are working individuals. 64% of households had at least one member of their family working for pay within the last 12 months. So, people from all over the area.
And Elly, how big of a problem, if we move on to the other side of this food waste, how big of a problem is that here in San Diego?
Well, currently 500,000 tons of food goes into landfill each year. That's 1 billion pounds of food. In national statistics, they estimate around 40% of food is lost somewhere between farm to fork. So what we're trying to encourage is a closed loop system that goes from farm to fork back into the farm. So creating more efficiencies between farm to fork so that 40% number goes down dramatically and everybody has food to eat. And scraps go back into the farm through animal feed and compost so that we're building soil fertility.
And I want to touch on that in just a moment, but first I want to get back to Kelly on this food with the hungry. Where does the food that you distribute to these 1 in 7 people who go hungry here in San Diego, where do you get it from?
We get it from actually a couple different sources. We are part of the National Network of Food Banks, Feeding America affiliated food banks. We have access to a lot of resources and food through that affiliation. So they have relationships with big names like Kroger or General Mills, Kellogg's, big names like that, manufacturers. Then we also get a lot of produce. So 50% of everything we distribute is fresh produce. And so we work with the California Association of Food Banks, which is a network in California that works with farmers to get the produce that they may otherwise not be able to take to market because it may be quote unquote ugly produce. So it might be carrots with 2 legs or apples that are just too small to take to market, but still perfectly edible.
Well, speaking of which, grocery stores often clear the shelves with items that are about to expire. And I'll start with you, Kelly. How do you get any of that food? And if so, how do you make sure that it's still good to eat?
Absolutely. About half of everything that we distribute comes from grocery stores in our area. So that's Target's, Food for Less, Albertsons. And as far as that expiration date goes, it's actually really interesting. The date that is on packages is actually not mandated, like federally mandated. So we have training resources for all of our partner agencies. There's also some really great stuff online that teaches them how to read that.
Yeah, and speaking of the same thing, Elly, how do you keep that food, let's say, on the grocery shelves that are, maybe going to be tossed out? How do you keep that from getting into the landfill?
Well, what we as consumers can do is really encourage these businesses to donate that expired food. And as Kelly mentioned, the sell-by dates and expiration dates are fairly arbitrary. That's set by manufacturers, which really encourages us to waste more and buy more. So there's market dynamics involved. So as consumers, we can really help to drive down the waste numbers by convincing businesses to donate. And there's liability protection, the Good Samaritan Act, that protects businesses from liability.
Okay, and Elly, what needs to be done here in San Diego to expand programs to reduce food waste?
Sure. So we really need to invest in local resources and local solutions in order to divert food waste going into landfill. So making sure that donatable food can be sent to food pantries, making sure that food scraps can be sent to the farms for compost and for animal feed. However, there's regulatory barriers that need to be addressed on the composting side to make sure that local community composting sites can be built out to accept that type of food. And also the distribution systems need to be in place so that we can connect the food waste or the wasted food to those who need it.
All right. Elly Brown and Kratzer, thanks so much. And I want to let folks know we have more about this on the summit on our webpage, kpbs.org. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.